Two major problems in the judicial system are clannish governance and closure of the system. The reform process demonstrates that the authorities have abandoned fundamental changes and they are making an active use of leverage for controlling the judicial system, as well as influential group of judges, in order to govern the system. This is confirmed by faulty and protracted reforms of the justice system, which have failed to lead to improvement of the judicial system and, on the contrary, have caused even further closure of the judicial system by strengthening dominant groups. The ruling team's contact person for communicating with the influential groups in the judiciary is Vanos Ardiashvili, deputy chairperson of the Legal Issues Committee of the Parliament. Vanos Ardiashvili was an advisor to the Prosecutor General, Sudraba Deishvili, between 2004 to 2006. From 2010 to 2012, he worked as the head of staff of the Tbilisi City Court. In 2012-2013, he served as a deputy head of a department at the High Council of Justice of Georgia. Levan Murusidze worked in the prosecutor's office from 2004 to 2005, and since 2005 he has worked in the judiciary. His name is associated with the case of the so-called Rabulous judges, as well as with the cases of Sulhan Molashvili, Sandro Gilgliani, and Georgi Mikiashvili. Mikhail Chinchaladze also worked at the prosecutor's office between 2004 to 2005, during which time President Mikhail Saakashvili awarded him with the Order of Honor. Valery Tsartsvadze worked at the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of State Security, and the Chief Prosecutor's Office between 2002 and 2005. Since 2005, he works in judiciary. A group of influential judges are also employed at the High Council of Justice, where there is virtually no difference of opinions between judicial and non-judicial members of the council. Levan Tevzadze worked in various law enforcement agencies for 7 years. In 2008, just before being appointed as a judge, he worked as the head of the Division and General Inspection of Ministry of Internal Affairs. Since 2008, he has worked in the judiciary. In 2014, he sentenced Giorgi Viciani and Nika Chemia to 15 years of imprisonment for the murder of Lika Lominadze. Later, that verdict was overturned and the court acquitted them. Merab Gabinashvili worked as an investigator from 1992 to 2006. He has worked in the judiciary since 2007. Sergo Metopishvili served in various positions in the prosecutor's office between 1989 and 2006. From 2007 to 2009, he worked in the border police of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Since 2009, he has worked in the judiciary. Tamara Lania worked in the General Prosecutor's Office of Georgia for 7 years prior to joining the judiciary in 2006. She reviewed the high-profile case of Kvansek Uparadze. She also reviewed the case of the so-called Mukrovani mutiny. Revaz Nadaraya has worked in the judiciary since 2009. In March 2016, he was appointed as the chairperson of a panel at the Tbilisi City Court. His name is associated with unlawful conviction of a person who was given amnesty in October 2009. Despite the fact that, according to the Amnesty Act, the defendant was to be released from liability, the judge still convicted him. Georgi Mikautadze worked as a prosecutor from 2006 to 2010. Since 2010, he has worked in the judiciary. Mr. Mikautadze's name is associated with the finding of Bettina Ivanishvili, leader of the opposition, and seizure of companies associated with him in the run-up to elections. The institution of chairpersons of courts brings together a group of the most influential judges, and their formal or informal status enables them to exert control over individual judges. For this reason, chairpersons of courts have been perceived as bosses of judges in the judicial system for years. Dmitry Kritishvili has worked in the judicial system since 2007. His name is associated with a number of high-profile cases. Dmitry Kritishvili has worked in the judicial system since 2007. His name is associated with a number of high-profile cases, including the sentencing of Dacica Guria and Beka Aladashvili to administrative imprisonment, and imposed a 5 million Georgian lari fine on one of the companies owned by Mr. Ivanishvili. I am Murusidze. These words belong to David Mamiseishvili. He uttered them in connection with Mr. Murusidze's appointment in the Court of Appeals. From 2002 to 2004, Mr. Mamiseishvili worked as a head of municipal administration, Gamgebeli, and since 2008 he has worked in judiciary. Mami Abkhakadze worked in the prosecutor's office and the investigation service of the Ministry of Finance for different periods between 2000 and 2007. Since 2007, he has worked in the judiciary. According to the news reports, he was one of the most influential figures in the judicial system under the national movement. The period when Mr. Abkhakadze was the chairperson of the Tbilisi City Court coincided with improper processes in the judicial system, such as wiretapping. According to news reports, in 2012, the chairperson of the Tbilisi City Court, Mamia Phakadze, dismissed 7 court bailiffs due to their political views. Other chairpersons of courts are also distinguished by their strong support for the High Council of Justice. These include Timur Gogochia, Mamuka Tsiklouri, Levan Nutsubidze, Irakli Shengelia, and Mevlut Khatashvili. Judges working in various other important positions are also thought to be members of the group of influential judges, including Georgi Tkavadze, chairperson of the disciplinary panel of judges of common courts, Beata Silagadze, chairperson of the qualification chamber of the Supreme Court, Miranda Erumadze, member of the administrative committee of the Conference of Judges, Ilona Todova, judge of the Tbilisi Court of Appeals, and former member of the High Council of Justice.